Now I would like to have live on stage Pathik, Divate, CEO, Jehangir Clinical Development Center, our moderator for the final session of IFAH 2019. A big round of applause.
Thank you and welcome back. So we're getting towards the end of this conference. This is the last technical session, and it's been a cracker of 3 days. I've definitely learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody here would have some takeaways. So let's get on with the last session. The topic for today is Trends in Medtech, and we've heard a lot about digital health, digital nutrition, 3D printing, blockchain, a lot of these interesting new concepts. And let's get our panel of experts here to talk a little bit about this. I have been told by about 3 people to keep this really short because we are going behind schedule. So we're going to have a crisp panel discussion, and then we'll open it to the audience for some questions. So first I'd like to call upon Rahul Chopra. He's the Chief Digital Officer at Max Healthcare. Rahul. Next we have Dr. Chandan. He's a Senior Embryologist at Motherhood Fertility Center. Big round of applause. And lastly, Joe Zhu. He's the CEO of Pocket Health. So Rahul from India, Dr. Chandan from Sri Lanka, and Joe from Australia. So we have a nice panel here. So first I'd like to start with you, Rahul. Obviously you head the digital practice of a very large chain of hospitals in India. So I'd like to understand from you, what are the disruptions you're seeing in medical tech, in med tech, which are coming to your hospital?
I think everybody knows this, that in healthcare, innovation is going crazy. Every day I come across minimum 3 to 4 solutions, innovative solutions around healthcare. So having said that, I mean, my bit would be, don't get immediately overwhelmed by the kind of solution that we are seeing around us, because it's very important to before embarking on digital journey, it is very important that we start collating the data in a meaningful way. And things like, working heavily around EMR, your e-prescription adoption should be above 80% before really crafting a good digital strategy or picking some of the innovative solution. Otherwise, what will happen is, if we not embark on those aspects, probably the patient experience, ultimately the customer experience, covering the doctors, the staff, and plus our patients, it will not give a justifiable view to anyone. So it needs to be well thought through. That is my experience says. So when I started the digital journey in Max Healthcare, the first thing that we reinforce on was that the e-prescription adoption should go above 80%, so that all the doctors should use that and the data should get recorded electronically. Once we achieve that, it was easy for us to embark on journey like bringing care at home, because it's a combination of mobile layer with IoT devices, and you can very well plug in any AI-based solution to give a better experience to the customer. So that is the second layer that we have done. Of course, we came out with the patient app as well, so that you can go ahead and ask for services on a click of a button. The other thing that strategically we did, that if you ever notice a Max Healthcare app, if you download from the App Store or the Play Store, 30% of job you can do without even login. Because we are very clear that first time the patient is inquisitive. So either most of the people are coming for cross-references, they want to inquire about doctors, and then you proceed ahead with the login, and it could be very simple. You just ask mobile number or Gmail, and then you just get onto it. You don't ask for money upfront. You keep it very simple. That will be good. So these are the things, and hence you guys would be aware of that there is a lot of disruption happening around radiology. That's a straight kill. I would say that everybody, every health provider should definitely explore radiology as one of the departments that you can really disrupt through AI solution. If you, in our case, all the X-rays get scanned through AI algorithm. The anomalies get highlighted in red dots onto the film. It get auto-typed through AI, and in the GE PACS funnel, it moves to the checker. So the maker is AI, the checker is senior radiologist. So those are the things that can be easily done. Having said that, be very careful about implementing AI because it requires a lot of data to pump in to give you a meaningful information and even the accuracy. So sharing the data is anyways a lot of concern. I mean, the data privacy would be his aspect also. And in the conference, I was observing that many people are saying that AI is the thing. What we have done is that we have created an ethical committee before embarking on AI journey. So ethical committee is very important. It's a combination of doctor, clinical directorate, information security head, right? The governing body, risk and compliance, all people together form this committee and review everything and then only sign a journey for the AI solution. That is very important. So these are some of my bits around when you're looking at disruption, when you're looking at innovation around you, be very sure about that whether our ecosystem is well connected. Do I really have a unique identification of my patient so that accessibility is better, so that giving information, meaningful information is better, so that I can give a better customer experience, which is not disjointed.
Rahul, it's great to hear that you all are intelligently using technology as an enabler and plus looking after the ethical considerations as well. Moving on to you, Dr. Chandan. So obviously, you are senior embryologist at IVF Center. So if you can tell us a little bit about the recent developments in embryology and medical technologies.
Thank you for that. When we consider an IVF procedure in an embryology, it is very important to make sure that we maintain the IVF plan which is prescribed for the patient. I don't know how many of you have seen the egg and the human sperms look like. It's almost, all the oocyte and the sperms will look similar. But when we start an IVF procedure, basically I just want to have a small introduction about an IVF procedure. It is a procedure where we take out the gametes, that is the egg and the sperm, outside the body. We create the babies, and once the embryos are formed, we put it back. So when the oocytes and sperms are outside the body, we have to make sure that those particular oocyte and the embryos belongs to the respective patient. So how do we monitor this? We have a special software for this that is called a witnessing software, which will make sure that when you take out a respective patient's embryos in an incubator, it makes sure that that embryos belongs to that particular patient. In case by mistake, because all the oocytes and embryos look similar, in case if you take someone's embryos, it will give an alarm system that embryos doesn't belongs to that respective patient. So this artificial intelligent technology and the RI witnessing system helped in medical industry, especially in IVF industries a lot. Second thing is, once the embryos are formed, see, it's a basic wish for all the infertile couple to be called as a parents rather than just an infertile couple. So this IVF technology, we create the babies and we make them this wish come true. And second, importantly, I believe that it is not just to have a pregnancy done for an infertile patient. It is very important for an embryologist because he's having a future generation in hand because he creates the babies, the next generation. So it is must for an embryologist to make sure that whatever the babies which is resulted in an IVF procedure are most genetically stable. That's what even the couples look for. So here in the science and technology, we have something called a PGS system, an embryo biopsy system, where the grown embryos, when you select the sperm and when you select the oocyte and you make the fusion and make the embryos, we really can't find out or differentiate which embryos are really genetically stable or which are not. So this technology called PGS system, we take out each cells, because the embryos are having multiple cells right now. We take out one particular cells from an embryo and make sure that that particular embryo, which in future resulting into a baby, will have any sign of genetic abnormalities. So when you have 10 embryos in your lab, you don't know which one is the good one. So PGS will say the embryo 1, 5th or 6th, 7th are fine, rest all having a genetical defect, so you don't transfer that embryo. So the science and technology have come up such a level that we can genetically choose the best embryos for the transfer procedure. One. Second thing is, the infertility ratios are becoming more and more nowadays. If you see back in 20 years back, the infertility ratio is only 40%. But now, because of the lifestyle, the infertility ratios are becoming more. The present ratio says that is almost like 50 to 55% infertile couples around the world. Down the line, scientists have predicted that maybe another 30 to 40 years from now, any couples who wants to go for a pregnancy, like IVF is the main priority. That's how the infertility ratio is coming up. So when these things are happening, we have certain technologies in order to select the best embryos in our IVF procedure. So when we select this embryo, we make sure that the babies which are resulted from that are genetically stable babies, so that your miscarriage rate will go down. And one more thing, IVF is a quite expensive procedure. So, and second thing is, it's not like a guaranteed procedure in a first attempt. So the patient has to keep on trying for the best until they get pregnant. So to cut down the cost of this procedure, again, this artificial system and this the PGS and the biopsy systems are plays a very much important role, so that we can reduce the number of cycle and make sure this patient economical, maybe in the first or second cycle itself they become positive. So this is how, and there is one more present research which is going on. You can design your own babies. Everyone, they have a wishes that my baby's color should be blue and the hair should be brown. So this is how, this is called recombinant technology. We can able to create designer babies. So probably in the future, there'll be a consent form which shows that what the expectation, what should be your baby's eye color, what should be your skin tone of the baby. So we manipulate the genes and make sure that we get them. But it is still under clinical trial. It is not yet fully come to a picture. But the future designer babies are the recent things which we are looking into.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Chandan. That was fascinating and a little scary as well. But moving on to you, Joe. So obviously you have a tech and a health background. So if you can shed some light on slightly controversial topics like telehealth and blockchain. So there are two schools of thought, how much is too good.
Yeah, sure. So our company does healthcare to your door. We're doing some work in the AI for drug discovery and senolytics and oncology. But not in the sake of everyone's time, let's just stick with the trends in medtech. So I think there's a few trends that's obviously coming out. One is telehealth with the mental health apps and blockchain, obviously. So I think we'd have to be I'm a big believer of technology. I just want to get that out of the way. And but I'm actually not a very big fan of telehealth. Telehealth, I think, has a lot of risks. It doesn't. Not everything's yes or no. So technology, we have to use that as a tool. And for example, if I'm dizzy and I need to see a doctor, you can't measure my blood pressure. You can't listen to my chest. You can't look into my ear. You don't know why I'm dizzy. So the potential burden on the healthcare system for misdiagnosis can be actually quite severe. And just my firm belief that healthcare it's just not the best health practice, telehealth. And I think, which is why we're focusing on healthcare to people's doors. I think doctors still it definitely has its place. Don't get me wrong, I get second opinions and emergency situations, but it should be utilized with the general healthcare system. And also my view on mental health apps is also a little bit controversial, if you like. I think, again, mental health apps definitely has its place, but I think for patients that has depression and mental health, the last thing they should be looking at is their phone. For me, they should be. I know there's the argument that's the trend that the world is going, but it's a bit like someone smoking and then you're treating them with e-cigarettes. So I think I'd like to see these apps probably incorporate more of like features where they encourages the patient for outdoor activities to connect with people, maybe some IoT, some wearables, so encourage them to go outside. It's no secret that social media has definitely caused this dramatic increase in the depression. And I think, and I don't want to see these apps become another platform where people, it's all well and good at the start that you're focused on mental health, but as you scale, as you raise money, you're going to have pressures from the VCs to say, we want to monetize this, you need to grow, and before you know it, they're just gone from Facebook to another Facebook version 2. So
I agree, there's a balance. Do you want to add anything?
I just want to pick from the gentleman who is sitting in the front. He raised a very valid point, accessibility. So I, as a digital fellow, into digital from last 10 years. So what has happened on 3rd or 4th of September, I met with an accident, 2018. So my C5, C6 got ruptured and it was Sunday. If you check on your mobile, it was like Sunday only. So accessibility, I forgot that the whole digital had gone, right? So all I need is doctor. So that is something which is very, very important. But having said that, just to support the technology aspect also and the digital and the AI also, what really helped me was that once I got that done, the MRI and everything was ready on my app, which was there from MaxScale. So the creation that we have done for the patient, I never realized that I will be a patient. I was hale and hearty. But I met with an accident, but that app really helped me later on to consult doctors, different doctors, and very easily I could show those images on a handheld device itself. And I can share that on a click of a button on a WhatsApp also, so that if doctor is not there, he can see later on and give me some output there and then. So yes, the argument is valid. The accessibility, the connect, the touch of doctor. Even I as a CDO feel like I want to see the doctor for myself, right? So that will remain forever. It is just that AI can only complement to an extent which will lead to a virtual reality. which will definitely be augmented by AI and a human intervention. It will never ever be purely AI. That is how I foresee.
Thank you. So we are running behind schedule, so we are going to stop the discussion and open the floor for questions. If you can do a couple of questions, and then the panel is always available for networking outside. So anybody?
Thank you for giving us the floor for questions. My name is Khaled Saadi, and I am Chief Medical and Compliance Officer at INOC. One of the things that attract my attention is the genome. You know, one of the speakers, he said that they are defining 1 million genome and plotting that against 1 trillion bases, right? That will give some reflection on so many things. One aspect is the insurance. However, I think it is too early to go into that at this point of view until the full genome is identified. There are more than 30,000 genome in the human body. Most of those have been defined, but the full function is yet to be defined. There are a lot of theories behind it, like microsites, myros, all of those things, or microsatellites, sorry, myros. There is another element, if someone have a chances to develop breast cancer, and breast cancer in ladies start at the age of 9 if the exposure is there. How much of impact that will cause on this patient apart from insurance? I think too much information through those apps should be monitored to the benefit of the patient rather than giving everything in a package format. So I need to see how you look at this from patient point of view, not from insurance point of view.
So
Thank you.
I would like to tell about a small incident regarding this data protection, how it's very important for us to maintain the patient's data very carefully. Back in India, where when we consider an IVF procedure, unfortunately some women or men may not able to produce their gametes. So in such cases, we are supposed to use the donor gametes. Of course, it's not allowed in UAE. So during such situation, what we as a clinical people, we make sure that the data are protected. We had one example. Somehow, when you introduce a donor for an IVF procedure, we have to maintain the privacy between the donor and the patient. And the donor should never reveal to the recipient, or the recipient should not be revealed to a donor. In such cases, what happened, somehow a donor came to know about who was the recipient. It's an egg donor who has donated her egg to a particular couples, and somehow from the hospital, or I don't know where the information she got, so there is a data breach happened. She came to know that her particular egg has gone to a particular recipient. What she has done, she has started blackmailing the couples, asking for the baby back, saying that it's my oocyte. And couples, they are completely unaware that it is from her or not. So why I said this example is because it is patient trust the doctors or the hospitals, and the data which we enter in this, the so-called tool, the artificial intelligence or the data management, whatever, I feel that has to be protected very strongly, should not be taken it very lightly, so that in future all this kind of event will not happen. So later what happened, once the donor started blackmailing the patient regarding their embryos back, it went to the court, and there was a lot of, almost like 2 to 3 years, there was regular happenings, schedules happening, and finally the court decided that, okay, this breach was a mistake, it shouldn't have happened, but it happened. But according to the Indian Medical Council, any donor who donates the oocyte or the egg to the patient, they don't have any rights to claim it back. So that's how it's very important to make sure that all the data are protected with some special, because I'm not much into the IT and the technical thing, but it is important to make sure that the data is not leaked and it should not be hacked by any of the hackers.
My name is Chukudi Cyril Ezako from Midlife Healthcare Services. Dr. Chanda, I want to ask about frozen egg and fresh egg during the procedure of IVF. Which one is more effective to get the results? Is it a frozen one or like a fresh one?
Your question is whether the frozen egg is best or the fresh egg is the best.
Yes. And the second question is, a lady or a woman that has had miscarriage like 5 times, that is going for the IVF, what are the conditions? Like, what progress can the patient get in having a baby through IVF?
So when a couples, we choose, see, first of all, I would like to tell why the frozen eggs are used, so that you will understand my answer properly. Frozen eggs, all women will not be very healthy to produce more number of egg. There is something called a hormone called AMH, which is called anti-Meridien hormone, which will predict what could be a woman's capacity to produce the egg. Just in case, if the AMH value is lesser than 1, their oocyte production quality will be very lesser. So in such cases, just with one egg, see, in a natural cycle, it is just one egg, sperms will be fertilized and the pregnancy happens. But when we consider an IVF procedure, just with one egg, it's very difficult for us to make them pregnant back. In such cases, we give certain hormones to produce more number of eggs. So coming back to this woman who is having very low AMH value, even though if you give a high dose of hormones, which is not advised, in spite of that, she will hardly produce 2-3 eggs, but we are not sure whether those eggs are matured or not for an IVF procedure. When you stimulate the woman, say for example, if she's producing 10 eggs, all 10 will not be matured, all 10 eggs will not be fertilized with the sperm, all the 10 will not turn into good quality embryos. So we have to make sure that we have more number of eggs, ultimately ending up with getting 40 to 50% of recovery of it. So when you have such complication, just with one egg, it is very difficult to go for a IVF procedure. So there comes the freezing. What we do, we call it as a pooling cycle. Every month we stimulate, collect the egg, freeze and keep it. So again, the next month, collect the egg, freeze and keep it. So like this, we will have maybe 5 to 6 cycle, that is like 5 to 6 month of cycle, we collect the egg and keep it. So coming back to your question, whether the frozen egg or best or the fresh one. The fresh oocytes are always better. Why? Because when we freeze the oocyte, the temperature goes to minus 195. Imagine minus 195. So when you retrieve back, when you thaw the oocyte back, say for example, if I have frozen 5 oocyte, all 5 will not be retrieved back because of the extreme condition to a normal room temperature, that is 35 degree. So during this transit, we will lose most of the oocyte. One. Second thing is, when you freeze something, the DNA of the sperm will be altered when you thaw it back. So you're compromising with the number of egg. Again, you're compromising with the quality of the oocyte. So, and if you consider the fresh cycle, the embryos don't have, the oocyte don't have to go all this pace. So we make sure that we collect the embryos, make the embryos, do all the genetic testing and transfer the best embryos. But in an frozen cycle, if the AMH value is very lesser, yes, freezing is the only option. If the AMH value is normal, definitely you can go for a fresh pickup. That's always better.
Last question we have time for.
Thank you. My name is Mohammed Halmi. I'm from Egypt. And my question to Dr. Chopra, you mentioned that you use artificial intelligence to interpret radiology modalities, right? Do you have any data about the accuracy and the discrepancy levels on this?
Yes. So, a good question. On AI, so when I started evaluating AI things, so mostly largely the solutions were coming from US. And when we inquired about the accuracy of it, so they said it is 98.8% accurate. So then I asked that, what is the volume of data that you have played on? So they said that, guess what, Rahul, it's 15,000 sample. So I got shocked. I said, in our 14 hospital, 15,000 transaction is in one day. And you're selling me AI solution, which I should buy and then run the show on. So hence, what I realized that time, any AI solution, to make it realistic, you have to put a lot of data back into it to make it more intelligent, hence, so that it become more accurate. So we did that way, and I met the gentleman from Apollo also in Singapore in third patient experience conference. There I said that the only way to bring AI into reality in healthcare is the players like us, who have massive patient base, multiple hospitals, should pump back the data into the AI so that the AI become that much intelligent and the accuracy appears to be where we want to. Now to do that, as I said, be very careful to all the technologists. It is very important that don't take the game into your hand fully when you play with AI. Hence we formed ethical committee, right? Because I can only talk about experience. I can only say that this technology is good, but I don't know the legality, the compliance factor, the medical factor around it. Hence be very careful and work on anonymization of data rather than encryption. Encryption is another dangerous spot to be in. You be very sure about this thing, that what data you are anonymizing while you are playing with AI. So these are 2-3 things bit when you embark on any AI based journey in health industry.
I'll just quickly add something really quick. I think the current challenges with AI, as we're finding with drug discovery, is obviously the data is one is not enough. The second is molecular modeling. And the third one is actually processing power computers. So I think in the next 5 or 10 years, there's a significant increase in trend of quantum computing rather than the current processing computers. So quantum computers will definitely, we'll see an increase in trend in that, and that will, yeah, see a lot of advancement in AI.
Thank you. Thank you very much, our panelists. A big round of applause. Yet another insightful panel.